Hey, I'd like to introduce someone whose voice you've heard on the show before, and that is Chad. And we have a fantastic little YouTube raffle for you. Chad, what's it all about?
Yes, we have an exciting opportunity coming up for you to be able to win a free ticket to meet the Masters coming up in March, or a $500 travel allowance. Here's what you need to do to be able to win one of those things. We will be selecting a winner on March 4th when the contest ends. And all you have to do is go to the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Jason Hartman Real Estate. Subscribe if you haven't already. Then pick any video to watch. There's a variety of categories, everything about real estate investing, from finding the right markets, analyzing real estate deals, the economics of real estate investing, property management, financing. There's a whole wide range of videos that you can choose from, and choose one that you think would be interesting to you, watch it, and then go to the comments section and comment just a quick one-sentence comment on something that you learned from that video. And make sure to include the hashtag JHLive in the comment, and that will enter you into this raffle.
Okay, so that's real easy. You just go to youtube.com/Jason Hartman Real Estate, subscribe to the channel, and then watch any video you like, and make a comment below the video of one thing you learned, include the hashtag JHLive, and that will enter you in the raffle to win a free ticket to meet the Masters or a $500 travel allowance. This ends on March 4th, so be sure to get it done before March 4th. We look forward to seeing you at Meet the Masters. Thanks for joining us, Chad.
Thanks.
Welcome to this week's edition of Flashback Friday, your opportunity to get some good review by listening to episodes from the past that Jason has handpicked to help you today in the present and propel you into the future. Enjoy.
Speakers, publishers, consultants, coaches, and info marketers unite. The Speaking of Wealth Show is your roadmap to success and significance. Learn the latest tools, technologies, and tactics to get more bookings, sell more products, and attract more clients. If you're looking to increase your direct response sales, create a big-time personal brand, and become the go-to guru, the Speaking of Wealth Show is for you. Here's your host, Jason Hartman.
Welcome to the Speaking of Wealth Show. This is your host, Jason Hartman, where we discuss profit strategies for speakers, publishers, authors, consultants, coaches, info marketers, and just go over a whole bunch of exciting things that you can use to increase your business, to make your business more successful and more passive and more automated and more scalable. So we will be back with a great interview. Be sure to visit us at speakingofwealth.com. You can take advantage of our blog, subscribe to the RSS feed, and many other resources for free at speakingofwealth.com. And we will be back with a great interview for you in less than 60 seconds. It's my pleasure to welcome Eder Holguin to the show. He is the founder of Ideal Media and a few other companies as well, former Chief Revenue Officer at Virtual Fan Network and former Chief Revenue Officer at Integrate. He's also the former Chief Marketing Officer at Krush and founder of OnDemand Research and Iron Traffic. And we'll talk today about getting more exposure for your books, your podcasts, your business, all things along those lines. Eder, welcome. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
And you're coming to us from New York City today, correct?
Exactly. Yes, I'm in New York.
Fantastic. Well, tell us a little bit about what it is you do and how our listeners might take advantage of it.
Sure. We created a content recommendation and amplification engine. And in simple words, the internet keeps growing. It's incredibly large. Things are very, very hard to find as it continues to grow. So we built a company that provides two services. One is visibility for your content, whether you want to promote a book or a specific podcast, individual video channels, articles, your blog. We create visibility through our content recommendation ad units, and we provide the engine as well to promote your content through internal sources, meaning sites that you own or places that you work with, and through our publisher network.
So tell us about the mechanics of doing that. I mean, how do you increase the exposure of this content?
We provide native ad units. You probably have seen them before if you read an article in the New York Times or Yahoo, and you finish reading an article. Towards the bottom of the page, you see little squares that say you may also like or trending on the web. We empower those little boxes. They're content recommendation units and can be used as just pure content to engage users, but also you can build campaigns to create visibility for your individual content through those.
Okay, fantastic. So can you drill down on that a little bit more as to how it works? So someone signs up with your company. They can spend as little as $1,500. You have some big brands as clients as well, like America Online or AOL. What do they do next? I mean, how does that engagement process work?
Yeah, you find the content that you want to promote. If you have specific trending topics or a specific vertical, we create the custom ad units for you, and we basically match them. The look and feel is matched to specific placements that we want to provide, so you get visibility through different channels. We take those little ad units, syndicate them all over the web on websites that are relevant to your specific topic, and then we do syndication through social media and Facebook, mobile devices as well. So in essence, we're creating visibility for users that are reading something that's relevant to your specific topic and bringing those users right to you.
So any stories that you want to share from some of your clients as to how they use your services and how it increased their results?
Absolutely. We have companies varying, like you mentioned, in size, from Fortune 500 companies to really small bloggers and podcasters, as well as people who produce digital video and content on their own. We work with a couple of video platforms. And what we do with them is basically they provide the most trending videos, the things that they want to highlight the most. We create custom ad units, as I mentioned before, which are previews of that video, and we syndicate that all over the web. Some of them are doing anywhere between 100,000 to 150,000 unique visitors a day, increase in visibility. Since most of these companies derive revenue from selling advertising themselves, they basically use our engine to increase visibility, increase page views, and therefore increasing revenue for themselves.
So what other questions should I ask, or what other things should we cover?
In general, I mean, I can talk about anything you want. If you want something a little bit more geared towards advertising the future, where it's going, I'll be happy to share my thoughts on that.
That's a great part too. Yeah, I mean, where is it going? We're seeing so many changes, and we look at so many industries, especially the book publishing industry, that just still, in my opinion, hasn't found itself. I was interviewing an author yesterday, and they were talking about how it's 18 months before their next book can come out. And it's finished. That were self-published, and they were just to market it themselves and use your platform and use some of the other advertising platforms available. Boom, it can be out in a day. It's incredible.
I think that's one of the greatest things about technology, right? Technology has has leveled the play field for a lot of the smaller players. Now you can launch a mini movie online without having to rely on all the budget and all the money from the studios. Through crowdsourcing, you can fund your own films, your projects, your companies. A lot of these things are about involvement and power to the people, if you will. And I think that's the future. The future has shifted in two ways. One, with all the new technology that is available today, people can take control of their future. They can build their own wealth. They can start promoting content. I talk to people all the time who left a corporate job to go and start building a video blog and teaching moms about eating right and exercising, or teaching about music. In the same way, in advertising, the shift goes from mass media, which was television and radio for the most part in the old days, to a more personalized experience. Platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn and all these different platforms that are coming on board, whether it's social media platform, others are building into the idea of just niche markets, just being able to provide you with the ads that you want to look at, things that are relevant to you, information that pertains to any specific thing. Because consumers are very savvy these days, and now they have time to review, to read about specific products and services, which creates a lot of opportunity for a lot of entrepreneurs and people who want to build their own companies without having to rely on a lot of money to build the technology behind these, because the tools are there.
Yeah, one of the things I like to say is that the cost of failure nowadays has been dramatically reduced. I mean, the cost of startup has been reduced, so if that startup doesn't work, it's just not very expensive to try something anymore, is it?
No, I completely agree with you. And I think what I've seen lately is a lot of the business models that didn't work in, let's say, 1999 and 2000, they are being recycled now. There are companies that are looking at things that didn't work in the past because the infrastructure, technology, and all these things were so expensive, and they're basically reinventing some of the models. If you think about Facebook, it's not that different than the idea that AOL had in the past. They just changed a couple of things and started rebuilding it. But it created that, a specific community of people that are together, that share things online. And a lot of the new companies are just reinventing the wheel, if you will, because like you mentioned, technology is cheaper. We have better tools today. It's a lot easier to build certain things than before. So you will continue to see this moving forward as well.
Yeah, it's really an amazing time to be able to do this. So, are there any particular types of content that work particularly well? Is it riding the coattails of something that's trending? Any advice you have for content creators in terms of what they're producing?
Sure. I think a lot of the new companies are beginning to understand the idea behind content marketing. We dabble a little bit into part of creating content, but our main business is the amplification and visibility of it. But I think one of the interesting trends, and that you mentioned this, is how to present content to consumers. And I think the old hard sell, very in your face type of content doesn't really work anymore. I think people are looking more for information. And then the content marketing side is more about telling a story about your product, about your services in a way that is non-intrusive, that invites people to learn more about it. And I think that's the key. The key on the content marketing side with the companies that we work with is those that present information, that are rather more in a less intrusive way and more informative way of presenting information about their services. It engages the users, and a lot of the content becomes viral because it's information that is useful for other consumers as well.
I remember back in the 90s, a lot of people were doing free reports. That was the big thing. Here, get this free report, opt in, and it was like giving away the information. But that seems to have completely died now. Do you think this concept of, for lack of a better word, maybe you have a better word, I'll call it editorial-oriented advertising, is this going to last, or what's the next thing, if you had to guess?
Yeah, I would call it content marketing, which is not that different than advertorials or free reports. I think the biggest difference on the content marketing side is that now the metrics that we use to measure content marketing are more based on engagement. And metrics like how engaged the users are, how much time they spend reading your content, how viral your content is. And I think the metrics are more shifted towards engagement rather than just specific ROI. So it's more about providing information and engagement for users so they can get more education about specific products and services before they make a buying decision. Because we all know the internet has changed that. You go to buy a car, you spend more time on your computer reading about pricing information, the specs of the car, reviews, all these different things before you make the purchase than before. And consumers are very informed these days because the tools are available to them. So I think providing that specific type of content, it's going to be the trend, and it will continue to do so. There's a lot of new companies putting out a lot of information regarding their products and services and telling a story in a way that is very non-intrusive.
Good stuff. Well, any other thoughts that you have or things that you want to share? I do want to ask you about your prior companies and businesses for a moment.
Sure.
But anything else on this area?
No, we can talk about my previous businesses, sure.
Yeah, just to get a little, this is your third company, I think, correct?
Yes. So I came here when I was a teenager. I moved here from South America. My parents are both South Americans, and I came to New York with the idea of being an entrepreneur. Struggled through a lot of the same things that all of us immigrants go through. Had all the service jobs and waiting tables to bartending, paying my dues, did a lot of sales to begin with. And then after being in sales and the digital marketing, I realized this is it. Digital advertising, digital marketing is what I want to do. And with a couple of friends, we started the first company. My first startup was a company called Iron Traffic here in New York. And we built an agency type, digital agency to provide services for other companies.
And did you fund that yourself, or did you take on outside funding?
No, we had the technology part of the business, one of my ex-partners was Israeli, and we had a technology company in Israel. So through him, we funded ourselves the production and development of all the products that we wanted to build. Eventually, once we started making money in the company, we ended up buying the technology part of it and continue to grow the business. We were on Inc. 500 as one of the fastest growing companies in 2005, I believe. And the company was very successful. I left the company in 2008.
And what about the other one? How did you start and fund that one? What I'm getting at here is I'd like to hear a little bit of your rags to riches story.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
Actually,
you told us about the rags, waiting tables, and so forth. So
yeah. Yeah. The second company was through a couple of friends who were running an investment firm here in New York. And the company was OnDemand Research. The company was just two of us when we started building a platform to provide data segmentation and data for market research companies. So we sold exclusively to market research companies. I did most of the selling, had a very talented friend building the infrastructure and the technology behind it, and we grew the company relatively fast. It was later acquired by Excel Marketing, which is a much larger company here in New York as well. But the essence of a lot of this was just looking at something that was there, looking at a need and realizing there was a need in the marketplace for a specific product and service, and then tackling the problem. So if you're an entrepreneur, you want to build something, it's always the easiest way. Forget about what makes you money, forget about what's the trend or what's popular. Focus on two things. One is the need in the marketplace. Is there a problem that I can solve? Is there something in there that I can do to improve the current circumstances or a specific industry? Or something that you really love. The passion needs to be there. If you love what you do, you're going to be able to cope with the ups and downs that we all have and the challenges, whether it's the economy or technology changing too fast or whatever it is. You need to have those things in place.
what are some of the big challenges you had to overcome? Just one or two of them.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I know there's probably a big list, right? Everybody from the outside thinks, oh gosh, that looks so easy, but it never is it?
No, it's not. I think initially when I came here, obviously was the culture shock, learning a new language. Everything was different to me. I wasn't a kid. I didn't grow up in this country, so it was very challenging, and it took me a while to learn the language, to learn a lot of things that just were very incredibly different for me. And then in terms of business, I think
where in South America are you from, by the way?
I was born in Colombia.
Okay.
And then in business, I think the challenges is just thinking what you mentioned. I think people think, you have your own company and you're going to make a lot of money and everything is great and you don't have to work. And it's quite the opposite. You have to work more than anybody else. You have to oversee a lot of things. You have to learn a little bit of everything from basics of accounting to technology to sales. And, you wear a lot of different hats. And it's a full-time job, and I don't mean 9 to 5. I mean weekends. I mean dedication and passion, and going through a lot of the challenges that you go through from clients that may not work with you anymore at some point. Which at the beginning it becomes like something difficult to accept that there are companies and people and clients that don't want to work with you anymore, which is part of business anyway. Through companies that won't pay the bills, through challenges in the economy, you name it.
Yeah, no question about it. The best saying I ever heard about how hard it is when you're an entrepreneur, you only have to work half days. You can decide which 12 hours you want to work. So
yeah. So someone said to me that being an entrepreneur is like a man riding a lion. Everyone sees him and say, wow, this guy is on top of the lion and riding him. Meanwhile, the entrepreneur is thinking, how the hell did I get on top of this animal and how do I survive through this?
Yeah. Certainly true, but it also has its rewards on the positive side, right?
Absolutely. I wouldn't change it for anything else.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, any closing thoughts that you'd like to share?
No, I thank you for having me in the show. I think I am a firm believer that there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there and people that may be listening that want to go ahead and take that first step, that want to either start a company or build something on their own. And the only advice that I can offer is you don't have to make that jump at once. You don't have to leave your regular job and just go and venture on your own. You can always start something part-time, follow your passion, do the things that you love to do, and little by little, as you grow, you can make the decision to shift full-time into something you really, really love to do.
Fantastic. Well, give out your website if you would and tell people where they can find you.
Sure. My website is www.idealmedia.com. And you can find us on all the social media channels on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, you name it.
Here's actually a final question for you. In the world of social media, what do you think has the most legs? I mean, Twitter's about to go public. Facebook's IPO initially was a disaster, but it seems like it's coming back a bit. Is the world of social media still all about Facebook, or do you think they'll be displaced at some point?
Yeah, I truly believe that it will be displaced. I think there's so many more great things in current development, new platforms that we haven't seen. Technology is changing so fast, and it's all about individual needs for consumers. Everything changes. Twitter has its place, as Facebook does. But I think as we continue to evolve in social media and technology will continue to evolve, I don't think we haven't seen anything yet. I think there's so many different things coming that at some point Facebook will probably be the next AOL.
Wow, that's amazing. Or the next MySpace, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Google recently announced, actually, there was a lot of articles about this, about the patents that they're creating with the Google eyeglasses and how they're patenting cost per view and cost per, all these different patents that they have where they're measuring retina displays and looking at how people look at ads, how they're react to it, and all these different things. And I think that's really going to change everything in the digital world.
It's amazing though from a privacy perspective. Google scares me, Facebook scares me, and there's so much irony too because Mark Zuckerberg just recently purchased those lots around his house for $30 million because he wanted more privacy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the world we live in.
That's a huge irony. But before you know it, the Google Glass will probably have a tiny fMRI, functional MRI machine, and it'll actually read your mind rather than your eye movements on the ad.
I hope you're wrong, but
yeah,
let's see.
I hope I'm wrong too on that, just so you know. But who knows where it will go in the future. Well, hey, this has been a very interesting conversation. The website is idealmedia.com, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason.
Want to know what you've missed in the Creating Wealth series? Well, here's your opportunity with Jason's 5-book set. That's shows 1 through 100 through digital download. You save $288 by getting this 5-book set. Learn all of the advanced strategies for wealth creation. For more details, go to jasonhartman.com. This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company, all rights reserved. For distribution or publication rights and media interviews, please visit www.hartmanmedia.com or email media@hartmanmedia.com. Nothing on this show should be considered specific personal or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own, and the host is acting on behalf of Platinum Properties Investor Network, Inc. exclusively.